Section 38. KORACH. 16. But KORACH bar Tizah bar Kehath, bar Levi, with Dathan and Abiram the sons of Eliab, and on bar Peleth of the Beni Reuben, took his robe which was all of hyacinth, and rose up boldly, and in the face of Moshe appointed a different observance in the matter of the hyacinth. Jerusalem. And KORACH took counsel, and made division. Moshe had said, I have heard from the mouth of the Holy One, whose name be blessed, that the fringes are to be of white, with one filament of hyacinth. But KORACH and his companions made garments with the fringes altogether of hyacinth, which the Lord had not commanded, and 250 men of the sons of Israel, who had been made leaders of the congregation at the time when the journeys and encampments were appointed by expression of the names, supported him. And they gathered together against Moshe and Aaron, and said to them, Let the authority you have hitherto had suffice you, for all the congregation are holy, and the Lord's Shekinah dwelleth among them, and why should you be magnified over the church of the Lord? And Moshe heard, as if every one of them was jealous of his wife, and would have them drink of the trial water on account of Moshe, and he fell on his face for shame. And he spake with KORACH and all the company who supported him, saying, In the morning the Lord will make known him whom he hath approved, and hath consecrated to approach unto his service, and who it hath pleased him should come nigh in ministering unto him. To this, let KORACH and all the company of his helpers take censes, put fire in them, and lay incense upon them before the Lord tomorrow, and the man whom the Lord shall make known, he it is who is consecrated. Let it suffice to you, sons of Levi. And Moshe said to KORACH and his kindred, Hear now, ye sons of Levi. Is it too little for you that the God of Israel hath set you apart from the congregation of Israel to draw near to do his service, to fulfill the ministry of the Lord's tabernacle, and to stand before the congregation to minister to them? But so hath he brought nigh thee and all the sons of Levi with thee, and now do ye demand the high priesthood also. Therefore art thou and all the company of thy helpers gathered together against the word of the Lord. And Aaron, what is he, that you murmur against him? And Moshe sent men to summon Dathan and Abiram, the sons of Eliab, to the house of the great judgment, but they said, We will not come up. Is it a little thing that thou hast brought us from Mizraim, a land that produceth milk and honey, to kill us in the wilderness, that ruling thou mayest domineer over us? Neither hast thou brought us into the land producing milk and honey, to give us an inheritance of fields and vineyards. Wilt thou blind the eyes of the men of that land, that thou mayest overcome them? We shall not go up thither. And Moshe was very wroth, and said before the Lord, I beseech thee, look not upon their offering, the portion of the hands, for not an ass have I taken from one of them, nor to any of them done an injury. Jerusalem. And it was very grievous to Moshe, and he said before the Lord, Regard not the portion of their hands, for not an ass have I taken from one of them, nor to one of them done wrong. And Moshe said to KORACH, Thou and all the company of thy helpers come together to the house of judgment before the Lord tomorrow, thou, they, and Aaron. And take every one his censer, and put incense upon them, and let each offer his censer before the Lord, 250 censers, thou also, and Aaron, each man his censer. And they took every one his censer, and put fire in them, and sweet incense with it, and stood at the door of the tabernacle of ordinance on one side, but Moshe and Aaron on the other side. And KORACH gathered to them the whole congregation at the door of the tabernacle. And he had brought forth from his riches 2 treasures which he had found among the treasures of Joseph, filled with silver and gold, and sought with them to drive the riches of Moshe and Aaron out of the world. But the glory of the Lord revealed itself to all the congregation. And the Lord spake with Moshe and Aaron, saying, Separate yourselves from among this congregation, that I may destroy them quickly. But they bowed down upon their faces in prayer, and said, El Eloah, who hast put the spirit of life in the bodies of the children of men, and from whom is given the spirit of all flesh, if one man hath sinned, wilt thou be angry with all the congregation, Jerusalem? And they bowed on their faces, and said, O God, who rulest over the spirit of all flesh, if one man hath sinned, wilt thou be wroth against all the people? And the Lord spake with Moshe, saying, I have accepted thy prayer for the congregation. Now speak thou with them, saying, Remove away from the tents of KORACH, Dathan, and Abiram. And Moshe rose, and went to remonstrate with Dathan and Abiram, and the elders of Israel followed. And he said to the congregation, Remove now away from the tents of these men of sin, who have been worthy of death from the days of the youth in Mizraim. For they betrayed my secret when I slew the Mizrite, they provoked the Lord at the sea, at Lush they profaned the Sabbath. And now are they gathered together against the word of the Lord, and therefore is it fit that the wealth should be scattered abroad and destroyed. Touch not then anything that is theirs, nor be smitten on account of the sins. And they went apart from the tents of KORACH, Dathan, and Abiram round about. But Dathan and Abiram came out with reviling words, and arose and provoked Moshe at the door of the tents, with the wives, the sons, and the little ones. And Moshe said, By this you shall know that the Lord hath sent me to do all these works, and that I do them not from the thoughts of my heart. If these men die after the manner of dying in which all men die, and the common account of all men be accounted upon them, the Lord hath not sent me. Jerusalem. For not with my own heart have I devised them. If these die by the death with which the sons of men die, and the account of all men be accounted upon them, the Lord hath not sent me. But if a death which hath not been created since the days of the world be now created for them, and if a mouth for the earth, which hath not been made from the beginning, be created now, and the earth open her mouth and swallow them and all they have, and they go down alive into Sheol, you'll understand that these men have provoked the Lord to anger. And it came to pass, when he had finished speaking these words, the earth beneath them clave asunder, and the earth opened her mouth and swallowed them up, and the men of the houses, and all the men who adhered to KORACH, and all the substance. And they went down with all that they had alive into Sheol, and the earth closed upon them, and they perished from the midst of the congregation. And all Israel who were round about them fled from the terror of the voice. As they cried and said, Righteous is the Lord, and his judgment is truth, and the words of his servant Moshe are truth, but we are wicked who have rebelled against him. And the children of Israel fled when they heard, for they said, Lest the earth swallow us up. And a fire came out in wrath from before the Lord, and devoured the 250 men who offered the incense. And the Lord spake with Moshe, saying, Bid Eleazar bar Aaron the priest to take away the censers from among the burnings, and scatter the fire hither and thither, for the censers of these guilty men who have been punished by the destruction of the lives are consecrated, and make of them broad plates for the covering of the altar, because they bear them before the Lord, therefore they are consecrate, and they shall be for a sign to the children of Israel. Jerusalem. For a sign. And Eleazar the priest took the brass and censers which they who had been burnt had carried, and beat them out for a covering for the body of the altar, as they had before used them for the service of the altar, for a memorial to the sons of Israel, that no common man, who is not of the sons of Aaron, may offer incense before the Lord, and that no man should behave himself factiously to obtain the priesthood. Is did KORACH and the company of his helpers, and whose end would be to perish. Not indeed with a death like that of KORACH and his company, by being burned by fire, and being swallowed up by the earth, but punished with leprosy. 1. As when the Lord said to Moshe, Put thy hand into thy bosom, and his hand was stricken with leprosy, so would it be with him. But on the following day the whole congregation murmured against Moshe and Aaron, saying, You have been the occasion of the judgment of death against the people of the Lord. And it was, that when the congregation had gathered against Moshe and Aaron to kill them, they looked towards the tabernacle of ordinance, and behold, the cloud of the glory of the Shekinah covered it, and the glory of the Lord was revealed there. And Moshe and Aaron went from the congregation to the door of the tabernacle. And the Lord spake with Moshe, saying, Separate from the midst of this congregation, and I will consume them at once. But they bowed themselves on the faces in prayer. Jerusalem. separate from the people of this congregation, and I will destroy them in a brief moment." But they bowed down on their faces in prayer. And Moshe said to Aaron, "Take the censer, put fire in it from the altar, and sweet incense on the fire, bear it quickly into the congregation, and make atonement for them. For a destruction like that which consumed them in Horeb, whose name is burning, hath begun by commandment to kill, for the presence of the Lord." And Aaron took as Moshe had said, and ran into the midst of the congregation, and behold, the destructive burning had begun to destroy the people. But he put on incense, and made atonement for the people. And Aaron stood in the midst, between the dead and the living with the censer, and interceded in prayer, and the plague was restrained. But the number who had died by the plague was 14,700, beside those who had died in the schism of KORACH. And Aaron returned to Moshe at the door of the tabernacle, and the plague was stayed. 17. And the Lord spake with Moshe, saying, "Speak with the sons of Israel, and take of them severally a rod, according to the house of the fathers, 12 rods, and upon each rod thou shalt inscribe its tribe name. But on the rod of Levi thou shalt write the name of Aaron. For there is but one rod for each head of the father's house. And thou shalt lay them up in the tabernacle before the testimony, where my word is appointed to meet you. And a man whose rod germinateth shall be he whom I approve to minister before me, and I will make the murmurings of the sons of Israel with which they have murmured against you to cease from me." Moshe spake therefore with the sons of Israel, and the chiefs of them gave him severally the rods, according to the house of the fathers, 12 rods, and Aaron's rod was among theirs. And Moshe laid up the rods before the Lord in the tabernacle of ordinance. And it came to pass, the day after, when Moshe went into the tabernacle of the testimony, that, behold, the rod of Aaron had germinated, it had shot forth branches, blossomed with flowers, and, in the same night, produced and ripened almonds. Jerusalem. And the day following Moshe went into the tabernacle of testimony. And, behold, the rod of Aaron, of his house of Levi, had germinated, put forth buds, bloomed with flowers, and ripened almonds, the fruit of the almond. And Moshe brought out all the rods from before the Lord to all the sons of Israel, who recognized and took severally the rods. And the Lord said to Moshe, "Take back the rod of Aaron before the testimony, to be kept for a sign for the rebellious children, that the murmurings may cease from before me, lest they die." And Moshe did so, as the Lord commanded, so did he. And the sons of Israel spake with Moshe, saying, "Behold, some of us have been consumed with the flaming fire, some of us have been swallowed up by the earth, and have perished. Behold, we are accounted as if all of us are to be destroyed. Anyone who approaches the tabernacle must die. Are we not doomed to destruction?" Jerusalem. And the sons of Israel spake, saying, "Behold, we are consumed, and are all of us as if destroyed. Some of us have died of the plague, and some of us the earth, opening her mouth, hath swallowed up." 18. And the Lord said unto Aaron, "Thou, and thy sons, and the house of thy fathers with thee, shall bear the iniquity of the consecrated things. When you have not been heedful in offering them, and thou and thy sons with thee shall bear the iniquity of your priesthood, when you have not been heedful of the separations. And thy brethren also of the tribe of Levi, who are called by the name of Amram thy father, shalt thou bring near to thee, that they may consociate with and minister to thee. But thou, and thy sons with thee, only, shall stand before the tabernacle of the testimony, and they shall keep thy charge, and have charge of all the tabernacle, yet to the vessels of the sanctuary and to the altar they are not to come near, lest both they and you die. And they shall have appointment from thee without, and keep charge of the tabernacle of ordinance for all its service, and a stranger shall not come near you. And you shall keep the charge of the sanctuary and of the altar, that there may be no more the wrath that hath been upon the children of Israel. And, behold, I have taken your brethren the Levites from among the sons of Israel. To you they are given a gift before the Lord, to perform the work of the tabernacle of ordinance. But thou and thy sons with thee shall keep the charge of your priesthood in all things that pertain to the altar and those within the veil, and shall minister by lots according to the service. So, provision of food have I given you, on account of the anointing of your priesthood, and the stranger who cometh near shall die. And the Lord said to Aaron, And I have been pleased to give you the charge of my separated offerings, the cakes of the firstfruits, and all the consecrated things of the children of Israel. To thee have I given them, on account of the anointing unto thy sons, by an everlasting statute. They shall be to thee most sacred. Whatsoever remaineth of the sheep offered by fire, all their oblations, of all the minches, of all the sin offerings, and of all the trespass offerings which they present before me, they are most sacred for thee and for thy sons. Thou mayest eat it in the sanctuary, every male may eat thereof, on account of the holy anointing it shall be thine. And this is what I have set apart to thee of the separated minches. And of all the uplifted things of the sons of Israel, to thee have I given them, and to thy sons and thy daughters with thee by an everlasting statute. Whoever is clean in thy house may eat of it. All the best of the olive oil, of the grape wine, and of the wheat of the firstfruits which they present before the Lord, I have given unto thee, Jerusalem. All the best of the wheat, of the wine, and of the oil of the firstfruits. The firsts of all the trees of the ground which they present before the Lord shall be thine. Every one who is clean in thy house may eat them. Every devoted thing in Israel shall be thine. Whatever openeth the womb of all flesh among animals which they offer before the Lord, as the regulation concerning men, so the regulation concerning cattle, it is to be thine. Only thou art to redeem the firstborn of man by the 5 shekels, and the firstlings of the unclean animal thou shalt redeem with lambs. And the redemption of a man-child of a month old thou shalt make, according to thy estimation of him, by 5 shekels of silver in the shekel of the sanctuary, which is 20 meahs. But the firstlings of oxen, of sheep, or of goats thou mayest not redeem, for they are sacred, but thou shalt sprinkle the blood upon the altar, and burn the fat for an oblation to be accepted before the Lord. And the flesh shall be thine for food, as the breast of the elevation, and as the right shoulder, it shall be thine. Everything set apart of the sacred things which the sons of Israel consecrate to the Lord have I given to thee, to thy sons and thy daughters with thee, by a perpetual statute not to be abolished, as the salt which seasoneth the flesh of the oblation, because it is an everlasting statute before the Lord, so shall it be for thee and for thy children. And the Lord said to Aaron, Thou wilt not receive a possession in the land as the rest of the tribes, nor wilt thou have a portion among them. I am thy portion and thy inheritance in the midst of the children of Israel. And, behold, I have given to the sons of Levi all the tenths in Israel for a possession, on account of the service with which they serve in the work of the tabernacle of ordinance. And the sons of Israel shall no more come near the tabernacle to incur the sin unto death, but the Levites shall minister in the work of the tabernacle, and shall bear the sin if they be not diligent in the work. It is an everlasting statute for your generations, but among the sons of Israel they shall have no possession. Therefore the tenths of the children of Israel, which they set apart for a separation before the Lord, have I given to the Levites for a possession, because I have said to them that among the sons of Israel they shall possess no inheritance. And the Lord spake with Moshe, saying, Speak to the Levites, and bid them take from the sons of Israel the tenth which I have given them for the possession, and then shall you separate from it a separation before the Lord. A tenth from the tenth, and your separation shall be reckoned to you as the corn from the threshing floor, and as the wine from the fullness of the winepress. So shall you set apart your separation before the Lord from all your tenths, which you may receive from the sons of Israel, and give thereof a separation before the Lord unto Aaron the priest. Of all your gifts you shall set apart a separation before the Lord, of all the finest and the best therein. And say thou to the priests, When you have set apart the finest and the best of it and in it, then shall it be reckoned to the Levites as the setting apart of corn from the threshing floor, and of wine from the winepress. And you may eat it, you, the priests, in any place, you and the men of your house, for it is your remuneration for your service in the tabernacle of ordinance. And you shall not contract guilt by it. At what time you set apart the finest and best of it. By any one eating of it who is unclean, neither shall you profane the consecrated things of the children of Israel, lest you die.